The barriers to women in politics. Maybe we'll start with Bethany.
I saw it. In policy resolutions, I'll never forget the day I went to the Liberal Policy Convention, and there was a show of hands of support of the different resolutions that were on the floor. And all the socially inclined resolutions that were pertaining to women's issues and children and health were defeated. And what shocked me was I counted the number of women in the room, and I counted the number of check marks beside the resolutions, and they didn't match. The women didn't support the women's issues. And it really bothered me. On my drive home, I thought, what just happened there? Like, I don't understand this at all. And then I got thinking, oh my goodness, the lady behind me who I kept hearing say, well, we could never do that. That could never happen. We couldn't have, child care for everybody. We couldn't have, these things for women. We never had that, and you can't expect to do that. I got realizing that the only reason she was actually there was she was allowed to be there by her husband for his second vote. Now that was an eye-opener for me. And I stood in Toronto at a policy convention for a federal Liberal convention, and I heard young women voting against having quotas of women for dealing with issues as the Women's Commission had wanted to do. And men actually supported it.
So some barriers. I'm trying to think just from my own personal experience, anything that I might have struggled with a little bit. I thought that it was very expensive. And I actually had a few of the reporters and that asked me questions pertaining to that. They said if there was more grants available or funding available to help support women getting into politics, do you think that would be an incentive? And I just thought, oh my gosh, that's interesting. I never even thought about that before. Because if anyone knows me, if I want to do something, I find a way to do it, regardless of what it's going to cost. So I hadn't actually really sat down and thought about that. So I'm going to kind of focus my barrier more on that one particular area. I thought that was really quite difficult. If you look at a lot of the different structures of like the home and everything, and then all the different issues that we're dealing with women for pay equity and everything, we don't really necessarily have enough money to do that. And then if we're not getting enough support from our community, ourselves, not like the women not supporting the women or men not supporting women, just in general not getting enough support, then because I think about what I was able to raise for funding, it was very, very minimum. I paid for pretty much almost all of my campaign expenses myself.
I didn't really experience any barriers from my decision to run after I spent 6 months lamenting over whether I was going to do it. I really felt that from the party side at least, there was a high level of support and very much enthusiasm all the way through. But that being said, once I hit the ground running, I did have some interesting observations. Just some things just on the campaign side of things is that first off, going door to door, there was a really big reluctance on the part of my team and even my family to let me go door to door alone.
Yeah.
So for the first, it never even occurred to me, but for the first 6 weeks I had a really hard time getting any momentum in that area because logistically I got to get a driver, I got to get a babysitter, I got to get a this, and if I couldn't find anyone, there goes a whole night of door to door that you couldn't do. And eventually my stubbornness prevailed, and I finally just kind of had a check-in policy where if I got fed up, I would just say, I'm going door to door for the day, I'm going to be on the street. If I go missing, you'll know roughly where I went. But the second thing for me is the whole home responsibilities, and I had huge support at home. And one thing I hadn't really factored in was that my husband, who owns the couldn't be there either. So my mother and mother-in-law, friends, everybody stepped up, and I was very blessed that I couldn't have had a good campaign if I hadn't had that support. But there were times, maybe felt a little bit sorry for myself at midnight, being all wore down, exhausted, and no matter how much help you get, it's midnight and I'm scooping the cat box and making a lunch and trying not to mix up the two. And I'm sitting there thinking, I wonder how many of my male counterparts are doing this at midnight. But, I was just feeling sorry for myself. The third thing was appearance. Now, I can't tell you for sure that this is a women's issue, but I have to wonder how many men had to spend their face-to-face time talking about their appearance, whether it be at a door or wherever. And, as soon as I got to a door, I got, oh, you're taller, you're shorter, you're bigger, you're smaller, anything. But there's two major themes that prevailed, and I had to defend my age, I was told constantly I was too young. And given the fact that I'm about to turn 40, I really feel it was kind of a foolish time of explaining the fact that, you're defending that I was turning 40 and, I was really quite capable of doing this. And then there was the constant, anyone ever tell you don't look anything like your signs? Earlier with the women and you should be home with your children. And I had my kids come home from daycare one day and they said to me, my friend said that we shouldn't be wanting Mommy to win because if Mommy wins, Mommy's going to leave us and she'll never be home with us. And I'm sitting there thinking, gosh, that's not fair that, my 6 and 8 year old are coming home and hearing that. And it's, there is a bias there. And